Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another Divine exclusive video. So, last time I talked about chosen ones not meant to have a 9 to 5. And today is part two of that. So, like I said, chosen ones, it's a different feeling when you walk into the workplace versus a regular person. Chosen ones operate at a higher frequency and their energy can be felt immediately. So I listed, the reasons why. And go check out my video, Chosen Ones Not Meant to Work 9 to 5, part one. Well, this is part two. And there's a lot of different other factors that go into it. Because what will happen, the longer a chosen one stays at a workplace, particularly if it's like a lot of people there. Like now, if there's not many people, there's a few selected people, then it may not make a difference actually. Chosen ones, it may not be that bad for them. But if there's a lot of people, especially if it's in a big office or if it's in a warehouse, if you're around a lot of group of people, a lot of people will start to pay attention. So chosen ones, there's five more reasons. There's actually probably a bunch, but I just mainly wanted to narrow it down to the main reasons. And the number one reason that I would do from this video is you're meant to take risks. So, you know, when I say risk, I mean the stuff that you deal with on an everyday basis, everything is a system. So, especially if you work in an office job, or if you work in a warehouse, it's a system. You do this, on a particular day. This kind of helps to the bigger overall goal of the company. You're kind of just like, a cog in the machine. You're just like you're like a spark plug, as a part of the whole engine of a car. So you have a smaller kind of meaning. I'm not going to say what you do is insignificant, but, you really there's nothing that you do that really stands out, but your presence stands out. Your work, the role that you are assigned doesn't stand out, but your presence stands out. But what I say, you're meant to take risks. You are meant to do something that's in your own lane. You're meant to follow a different path. You're meant to, because, like I said in the last video, you will be envied by coworkers. You'll be envied by people because they look at your energy and they feel like, okay, he's here to take my position. Even though you're not trying to do that, you're just trying to work your 9 to 5, make your money, pay your bills, support your family. But everyone else doesn't look at it that way. So you are meant to take risks. You are meant to think outside the box. You are meant to pursue a path that's different than the average person, and a path that could create financial independence, a path that create financial freedom, and that could set up things for you, your family, and you know, for your kids and your grandkids. So you are meant to take risks, and when you work in a 9 to 5, it gets you into a comfortable kind of status quo position. And there's nothing wrong, like I said, anyone else that's watching this video may not be for everyone, but there's nothing wrong with going to work, doing what you have to do to support your family. These videos are not meant to make anyone feel, insignificant because you do that. I'm just strictly speaking to why chosen ones are not meant to do this and why they don't fit in. So these videos are not to take a shot at anyone. I'm just explaining how it looks different for chosen ones than it does for the average person. So chosen ones, you are meant to take risks. You are meant to do something out of the ordinary that doesn't pertain to a 9 to 5. Independent work, and or something that's unique, tailor made to your skill set. So if you're an extrovert, getting into something like a real estate, getting into podcasting, getting into radio shows, getting into media, if you're an introvert or if you're a mix like me, doing something that's kind of where you have your own independent work, doing something like this, uh, doing something that doesn't require you to go into an office and clock in and clock out, or go into a warehouse or whatever, any type of uh, environmental group where you're just a small part of a larger goal. So you're meant to take a risk. You're meant to do something extraordinary. That's reason number one. Get out your comfort zone, and working in the office or working in just a traditional 9 to 5 setting keeps you in a comfort zone. And chosen ones are meant to take risks and get outside the comfort zone. Number two, you're meant to have motion, not stuck to routine. So this kind of goes with number one, but it's a little bit different. So what I mean by motion is like when you go, just like for me, I've been in the accounting field for 8+ years. When you go into a workplace, you learn a set of duties, job roles that you have to do, even in a warehouse or a traditional work setting. There's a set of duties that this person does, person A does, person B, C, D does. But that's routine though. And there's no motion. There's nothing that's really evolving unless you go and learn something different, or you go to a different department. You really don't have motion in the company. You really don't have motion where you're at. You're just learning a different function that kind of ties into the bigger goal. So when I say something has motion, I mean there's different layers. There's, okay, I reached this part. Now it's time to get to this. There's different levels. The traditional 9 to 5, there's no levels really. There's levels as in income, as in position, as in status, but as in role, as in what you're supposed to be doing, job description, there's no really levels to it. So you're meant to have motion. You're meant to go out. You're meant to actually, and you will see this if you actually pay attention to some of the chosen ones in the Bible, as in Joseph, as in Moses, as in David. They were always on the go. So that's what I mean by have motion, like not necessarily just be stuck in one, consumed to one job, consumed to one office, consumed to one building. You're meant to have motion. You're meant to go out and let other people see what you have to offer, your value. And when you're in one job, when you just go to one desk, go to one seat, or you're in a warehouse and you just go to one part of the warehouse and you just do your job duties every single day, you're limiting yourself because you're in a routine, you're in a bubble, and you don't have motion to go out and be adventurous and share some of your gifts and ideas that the Most High has given you. So you're meant to have motion. You're meant to get out and do those things, just like the chosen ones in the Bible. David was always on the go. Moses was always on the go. Abraham was always on the go. Joseph was going to be like that, even though he was sold to slavery. He was stuck for a while, but he still had motion. So all of the chosen ones in the Bible have motion. So you as a chosen one are meant to have motion. You're meant to do different things. You're not meant to be stagnant, stuck in one part of a building 40 hours a week and not doing anything else. Now, if you are doing that and you have something else going on, that's awesome. That's great. So that's what I mean necessarily. Like, even if you're in a position right now where you're in a 9 to 5, you're meant to still do something else. That's not the only thing that you're meant to do. But it becomes hard because a lot of people in that position, a lot of people in that job, including your bosses, including the higher ups, they know that you're too good to be there. They know there's something special about you. And this is what I alluded to the last video, just like the movie uh, Good Will Hunting. His friends, Ben Affleck, the main guy was Matt Damon. Ben Affleck and his friends, they knew he was too good to be there. They knew he had extraordinary things, and people can sense. So they may not understand that you're a chosen one. They may not understand what it is about you, but they can sense you're bigger than what this role has to offer. So you're making us look bad because it's like you're here and you're above us, and that's why people look. That's why you get envy. That's why the hate is real in these workplaces for you, because people know that you're too good to be there. They're like, what the hell is this person doing there? They should be doing something greater. They can sense it on you, and this leads to my third reason. It's not your purpose. And when something is not your purpose, see, chosen ones, I think everyone carries a purpose, but particularly chosen ones have a certain type of purpose. And when it's not your purpose, and of course, purpose doesn't really relate to, like I said, it doesn't relate to jobs. But if it's delaying your purpose because it's taking too much time out of your day, and or if it's in the way, then that's one of the reasons why you're not meant to do it, because God put you on this earth for a reason. He gave you a purpose. He gave you a mission to complete. He gave you a purpose to fulfill. And you cannot do that working a 9 to 5, especially if you're not doing anything else, especially if you don't have time for anything else. Let's say you have kids. Let's say you have a family. You get off from your 9 to 5. You have other obligations, other family obligations. You're married or whatever. But if you can't fulfill your purpose and do this, and it's not in your purpose to stay there your entire life, to stay at a 9 to 5, you may make it up, you may rank up, but it's all about who you know. You could work hard, all these years in chosen ones, and then your efforts go nowhere, or you never get to your purpose because you thought your purpose was doing this. Your purpose is not your job, and the Most High gave you a purpose to go out in the world and use your talents, spread your gifts, be an inspiration to others. But you can't do that being in the 9 to 5 your whole life. So it's not a part of your purpose, which means that it won't satisfy or fulfill you. Your purpose is something your purpose is something that fulfills you. It gives you energy. It gives you the motivation and the reason to carry on when all else fails. And when you have a purpose, you have energy, you have passion to wake up, and you have a bright side. You kind of have an optimism about life when you have your purpose, when you're out doing your purpose. When you have a purpose and you're not doing it, you're just going through the motions because deep down you're not supposed to be doing that. So it's not your purpose, and it's going to eventually drain you because you know that, damn, there's something better I should be doing. There's something more fulfilling I should be doing. I'm on this job, I'm on this workplace, and I don't feel sustained. So you're just floating through life, and that's God didn't meant for chosen ones or anyone, not just chosen ones, anyone of that matter, to just float through life. So if you know it's not your purpose and you know that there's something bigger that you could do, then that's why this is not meant for you, because it's like, I'm wasting all this time and I'm not doing anything that what's been put in me to do. I have this purpose, I have this mission, and I'm nowhere near, reaching it. I'm nowhere near fulfilling it or stepping into it. And the gifts that you're given cannot be wasted. It's too important. You carry a certain purpose, chosen one, that cannot be wasted. You cannot waste your gifts. And this 9 to 5, this job that you're going at, yes, it may pay good. Yes, it may have good benefits. Yes, it may do these things. But if it's not since it's not your purpose, you can't, being there all these years won't sustain you. Now, you can have other things. Yes, your family, your kids, or whatever, everything outside of the position can, but that's a lot of time. And that's what I tell people. I'm not trying to discourage anyone who loves their job, but if you're not fulfilled at what you do and you dread doing it, or if deep down you could be doing something greater, that's still a lot of time. 40 hours, even sometimes more, people that work in overtime, 50, 60 hours. If you look at all that time, you multiply it, by 4, let's say you put in over 200 hours a week, times 52, that's what, 10,000 hours a year or so, times 40 or 50, that's 50, you know, that's so much of your life that it's going towards something that's not even your purpose. If you're meant to do it, if you're CEO, if you got a big position, more power to you. This is, like I said, this is not a video to deter people not to leave their jobs, but I'm saying chosen ones in particular. If it's not your purpose, you can't afford to waste time because of all the gifts into you that's been given to you by the Most High. So the first reason is you're meant to take risks. The second reason is you're meant to have motion, not stuck with routine. The third uh, the third reason is it's not your purpose and you can't be fulfilled. The fourth reason is you're meant to build a legacy. And chosen ones, I look at it like this: your name is supposed to be brought up in a lot of different rooms. You're meant to leave behind something. You're not just meant to work to be on this earth to work as a random job. You make your money. You die. People say a few things. No, that's not. And like I said, I'm not taking a shot at anyone else. But you're meant. Chosen ones are meant to build a legacy. You're supposed to leave behind something that the next generation can follow, that your kids can follow, that your grandkids can follow. Not just from a family perspective, but from okay, my dad was a part of this. I don't, it's just like you see, whether it's athletes, whether it's uh, entrepreneurs, innovators, business minds, when it's like, okay, I'm inheriting something. Your family, your kids, your grandkids, your peers, whoever comes behind you, they're supposed to inherit something. They're supposed to be like, man, Andre, like my name is Andre. Andre built this, so it's up to me to continue this on, or Josh, or whatever the name is, such and such built this. I'm meant to carry this on. You're meant to build a legacy. So it's hard to build a legacy if you're just in a normal position working a 9 to 5, especially if that place or most of these 9 to 5s, they're political based and you never get to the top. It's hard to build a legacy being just an entry level worker, or just in the middle, or just someone that just is a part of that does a small job, part of a bigger role. But it's like no one's gonna know your name that way. You're meant to have a lot of people know your name, not just the people that you work for. You're meant to be an inspiration to others. You're meant to go out and do something, fulfill your purpose, but to build a legacy doing that. So your legacy carries on from generation to generation. People should be talking about you 40, 50 years after you're gone from this earth, saying, damn, they built this, they did this, they took risks, they went down this path, they did something extraordinary. They weren't just the average person, or they didn't just choose the average, wide, predictable road. They went down a narrow path and they created this. I want to do that as well. That's what people are supposed to think about you long after you're gone, or even while you're living after you built an empire. You're supposed to build something here. You can't do that just just being an average person, just on the pecking order, or at the bottom of the hierarchy at just a regular workplace. So the fifth reason, chosen ones, you only are supposed to report to God. And this actually could speak to a lot of people. What I mean by this is, I'm not saying that if you have a job that you can't, but what I'm saying to you is, when you go to a traditional job, you have to report to a manager, a supervisor, a boss, or whatever. And if you don't do something right, that boss is going to get on you. That boss is going to be like, oh, well, you didn't do this. Or sometimes, if the boss is intimidated, and chosen ones particularly, the boss is going to be intimidated by you because of your presence. I've dealt with it everywhere I've been, almost everywhere I've been. They're intimidated by you because of your presence. So you having to report to someone that you are intimidated by, does that make any sense? Someone that thinks that you are above them, but you have to report to someone who feels like they're lesser than. Does that make any sense, chosen ones? They view you up here, they're down here, but you have to report to them. So that means you have to lower your vibration to meet them where they are. Because if you stay higher, if you know your value and you continue to report to this boss day in, day out, they will try to sabotage you. They will try to make it hard and deny you from raising up. I know how this goes. That's just the beauty of most workplaces. They're political, and especially if they view you as a threat, chosen ones, which they will, you know, you kind of have to lower your value. It kind of drains. It's like, dang, this person is still steady trying to bring me down, and you're not looking at your boss like you're better than them, but they're looking at you like that, and it just doesn't make sense. So when you're not working a 9 to 5, when you're doing independent work, when you got motion, you're living your legacy. Excuse me, you're building your legacy. You're out here living your purpose. If you're by yourself, you're working for yourself. So the only person you technically report to is God. That's the only person that's above you from that particular point, because you're not counting on anyone else to make your money. You're not counting on anyone else to write you a check or to make your hours or to tell you what to do. You're getting reports from God. You're saying, God, lead me the way. This is my purpose. This is my path. What am I supposed to do today? If you have your own business, how am I supposed to elevate this business? How am I supposed to reach other business individuals and collaborate and expand this? How can I make a difference today? How can I reach a different demographic today? How can I reach a different audience today? How can I expand myself today? So you're asking those questions, but you're going, you may have business partners, but you know, when you're independent, when you're self-sufficient and you have your own lane, even though you have business partners, you all are, see, when you're independent, all your business partners, you're all on an even playing field like that. So technically of course, God is above everyone, but God is the only person that you report to, that you look up to. And I'd rather be in that situation than any other situation. So chosen ones, you are not supposed to report to anyone else. You're not supposed to work for anyone. You're not supposed to be beneath anyone, because you're lowering your value. Your purpose, your aura, your energy, what you represent, what you carry is too big for that job. It's too big for that role that they put you in, because you could be boxed in that role, you know, until you decide to retire. You do all that, you collect your pension or you collect your 401k or whatever. But, you know, God wants you to build a legacy. God wants you to report to him. God wants you to show you the way. He's got so much more for you. He can give you so much more than these jobs can. And I know I'm not, trying just to seem like a prophet here. I'm not just trying to say, oh, quit your job and do this. But that job, if you really just look at everything, if you look at your value, if you look at your worth, if you look at what you represent, unless you own that company, and I'm going to say this to every chosen one watching, unless you own that company, there's not a damn dollar they can pay you that's worth your value. There is no amount of money they can pay you that's worth what you bring to the table. There's nothing they can do. You're priceless. And I'm not just talking to chosen, I'm talking to other people as well watching this video. Once you understand your value, and I'm making another video about this, you are priceless. Once you know what you're worth, once you know what your mind is, your mindset, how strong this is, what you have in this, $20 an hour, $30 an hour, not enough. They can't pay you what you're worth. Once you know what you're worth, you won't want to settle for anything less. And you shouldn't. So chosen ones, be encouraged. I am not saying, like I said with these videos, I am not saying to quit your job. Especially if you need it right now. Understand, finances get rough, crises get rough. You got to pay bills. You got kids. You're married. You got a family you got to take care of. Whether you got siblings, parents, whatever. I understand. But know that you're not meant to work the 9 to 5. You're not meant to. If you're there now, you're not meant to stay there. You're carrying something that's bigger than it. You're carrying something that you have to share with the world. And you can't share with the world just being just an average piece or an average part, an average part of a company, or just a smaller portion, because you're lowering everything that God is given to you could go to waste. It could just be for nothing. It's those seeds that need to be planted. because it's not just about you. And I'm speaking to everyone now when I say this. It's not just about you. Life is bigger than you. You are supposed to leave a legacy behind. You are supposed to leave things behind, and people are supposed to come in after you inspired. That is what you carry, you know, and other people watching as well. If you have something extraordinary, if you have gifts, you have talents, don't waste it. If you could sing, write, draw, you know, if you have an extraordinary personality, if you know how to get people interested, if you could persuade people, don't waste any gifts that you have. You know, don't just do things because other people are doing them. Use all your talents, use all your gifts. Do not waste them because it's not just about you. Life is bigger than all of us. Other people can learn and be inspired by you to go and do something else and be like, okay, yes, that's nice, work this place and be in this company, but I got such and such. I got this gift. I can do this. I can do this on the side. Explore all that. And it's okay to still work those jobs, to work those 9 to 5s, but do those talents on the side. Don't let any talent you have go to waste. Never do it. Because life is too short. You know, you want to leave behind something. You know, I think that's what the ultimate thing is. Life is bigger than all of us, but it's important that we leave behind something for the next person to follow, for the next generation to follow, for our kids and grandkids and peers and friends, for everyone to follow and be like, okay, well, this person did it like that. This is a blueprint. It's all about evolution because we are not meant to be robots here. If you, like I said, if you work a 9 to 5, if you're inspired, that's fine. I'm not telling you not to do that. But if you have gifts, do not waste them just being in one position, not utilizing your gifts. That's the one thing you cannot do. And chosen ones in particular, you have a purpose. You cannot do that. So please like, subscribe. Feel free to leave a comment. This is Chosen Ones Not Meant to Work 9 to 5, Part 2. Hope you guys have a blessed day. See you.